So, hello and welcome to what can only be described as the 151st episode of the Adoption and Fostering Podcast with me, Al Coates, and Im.
Scott Casson ready.
And you're in
How
your,
else are you going to describe it other than the 151st?
well, you could describe it as an episode between two other episodes
Well,
where we've got limited content. It's a bit of an unusual episode because we kind of we're sort of really busy getting things ready for the conference and life and stuff like this. So it's a bit maybe it might be a shorter episode, but so many times we promise ourselves it'll be short, and then
yeah, it never happens.
yeah, we light the touch paper and we get ourselves
and
all of it is. Yes.
Although we are doing this in our working day rather than the evenings today.
Once
So
again, you
that might
drawing.
contribute to,
Well, who knows? I've dipped out for my lunch half hour, and we'll be doing this. Is it so? Firstly, how are you?
Yeah, all right. Same old.
Like a resign, whatever.
It's daytime. It's daytime.
You do look very.
How is anybody during the day? Seriously, I've just come out of a 2-hour meeting, and I'm just like, now I've got to talk to Al. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. Thank you. In
fairness, it's a very busy time. It shouldn't be, because in the run up to Christmas, normally it goes a bit quiet, doesn't it? But not this year, which is good.
No. And we've got confirmation. Just an email came in about 20 minutes ago. Confirmation that we are able to speak to the Shadow Children's Minister, which is very exciting.
I actually told Tris about this last night.
Yeah,
I said, that'll be another one sacked within a week then. I was like, okay.
Yeah, because Robert Goodwin didn't last much more than 10 days after, we cracked him off. We've killed off Wilkins. Though he is lurking back. I've noticed he's lurking. So I don't know.
It'll be interesting though. And God, I feel like that's our standard line. It'll be interesting though, but it will be interesting to speak to the opposition.
Yes.
About some of the stuff, because we've never done that before. So it will be. And she took over from Tulip Sadiq. I can't remember her surname. But it was up until they had a little bit of a rehash of the opposition. It was Tulip. I think it was Tulip.
I've Googled children's tulip, and that's children's. That's not this is podcast gold. Podcast gold, isn't it? You keep talking while I furiously type.
But we did try to make contact with her, and we did make contact with her actually, but it just didn't go anywhere. So I think they all know. They know the curse of the podcast.
Yeah.
But clearly,
Tulip Sadiq, you were right.
There you go. Yeah, yay! It was just my pronunciation.
It was really interesting because it's the same. I remember when we first, Nadeem Zahawi was first, and I remember that was sort of going, Nadeem Zahawi?
Yeah,
is it Zahawi?
Yeah.
Which might be some sort of white supremacy, inherent racism in us both.
Possibly. You never know.
Could be.
Not intentional.
I know what you like, though. Anyway, so Helen Hayes is a Labour MP. She's a Labour MP for some London borough. And but I think, like you say, this is a strategy we picked up off someone else who sort of said, at the end of the Labour government, like back in decades ago, they, as a charity, they kind of started to make positive relationships with what was pretty obviously going to be the incoming government, which was Labour government, which is going to be a Conservative government. And obviously, we're not a charity, and we're not, who cares what we think? But it just seems to make sense to get to know the new thing, because actually, what do they think about the care review? Are they just endorsing it? Have they got, will it be in place that the changes by then? Who knows? It's very
we don't know. Do we? Yeah. And also some of the policies, and if when it comes to kind of policies for the next general election, what are they going to be focusing on into children and stuff like that? So, they might not be able to share it all, but certainly I'm sure they're busy writing all that up for impending. I was going to say doom, but yeah, I mean, it depends on who you are, I guess.
Well, yeah. But I mean, in some ways, you don't want to like they want to keep their powder dry, don't they?
Yeah.
So they're not coming out and coming up with amazing ideas that the Tories are then going to steal. So it'd be
Exactly.
interesting to see what she thinks about this stuff, and because actually potentially 2 years from now, give or take, it's
Yeah.
going to be her or Labour's bag potentially.
Yeah.
It's a high level of probability, isn't it? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Exactly.
come on. But so if anyone's got any specific topics they would like us to talk to her about,
Yes.
more than
Yeah.
happy to pick that up. And I'm emailing it. Well, I'm emailing it up to the time before, and we'll be asking her specific things. I think we would like to look at the
Yeah.
care review,
Yeah.
the focus on special guardians, maybe the technical question about independent reviewing officers. Maybe that could go in the back, but more broadly about school.
Yeah. And I think we need to put something in there about the adoption support fund as well, because obviously it was implemented by the Conservatives with the Lib Dems in coalition. What do Labour think of it? How do they see it?
That is a really good question.
I know. Down up there for thinking, down there for dancing, as people say. Don't know what it means, but yeah.
What on earth are you talking about?
Yeah, no. Anyway,
is that a Scottish thing? Is that what in the Highlands when you were learning
to do
your Highland dancing?
Yeah, up there for thinking, down there for dancing.
Is it about hills or something?
I don't know how relevant it is to our discussion right now, but anyway, never mind.
I'm going to Google that. I might Google that now. You keep talking.
Yeah,
no, I'm not.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. I really aren't, because that's up there for thinking, down there for dancing. Yeah. Anyway, dear listener, if that makes any sense to you, please get in touch and make sense of it for us as well.
Well, for you, not for me. It means something to me, obviously. So our winter bants as well. We'd had our winter bants last Thursday, didn't we?
I thought it was a roaring success.
It was. Now, normally we stick to these live events for half an hour because Al gets really panicky that nobody's bothered, interested, could care less. But we went to the full hour and we still had people at the end, which was quite a surprise, actually. So it must have been relevant. People must need the winter bants.
Absolutely. I think that it's these dark, dingy days of November, isn't it? So I think that people...
It's horrible.
No matter how dim the light is, it's better than darkness.
Yeah, and if we can just put a little flicker of candle in on an evening for you, then so we're going to do some more, aren't we?
Yeah, the tea light of hope on the windowsill of despair. Yeah, there you are. That's the new podcast logo.
Yeah, but the tea light is nearly run out. Right. So.
the second-hand tea light of hope
from a car boot sale.
Anyway, we're no longer at it. Anyway, so there's a couple of news items that we didn't manage to get drag up, and I thought it'd be good to just unpick them. Did you see the Guardian piece in relation to CAMHS and GPs giving out antidepressants to children because of the wait times? There you go. Have at that one. What do you think about that? Because you've been involved with CAMHS.
Yeah, I have, and I still am, because we've got CAMHS over here as well.
Yeah.
And over here, just as well, not as bad a state as they are in the UK, clearly, because I don't think we're giving out antidepressants from GPs. But I hadn't seen this until you pointed it out to me, shall we say? And I think that the article, which was in the Guardian, the first line is GPs are breaching medical guidelines. So, which is, that's quite a strong claim, is it not?
Well, if that's the guidelines,
are GPs not allowed? I mean, yeah, I don't know what the guidelines are because I don't work for CAMHS and I'm not a GP. But so I'm assuming that GPs aren't allowed to prescribe antidepressants to anybody under the age of 18.
According to the evidence, to the piece, yeah. I mean, my experience of any sort of medical intervention in relation to mental health has always been through a psychiatrist, a child psychiatrist, because a therapist can't prescribe. But oftentimes we as a family, we've had access to therapists, which has been sort of very like weekly, and then every 3 months we'd go up to the big house and see the psychiatrist, who are obviously overworked. And I think they have a duty as well to monitor medication as well, don't they? So they'll check children's weight, because obviously the amount they're giving, and that.
Exactly.
So there's a feeling that it's a much more nuanced in that if you're an adult, there's a level of stability that you're prescribing into. But with a child, children have growth spurts, and you're giving
Yeah.
maybe you're medicating them for a physical, size that they're just not anymore. So it's
Yeah, which
limiting.
would make sense. And I'm just looking further down the article, and it's NICE guidelines. The guidance on antidepressants has been issued by the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, which advises the NHS on which treatments are effective. And like you, yes, I mean, when we've had medication prescribed like you say, you've got the big house every 3 months, and they do the weight and the thing, to the point where Jacob has become obsessed with having his weight checked by someone with any form of qualification rather than himself, to see if he's within the kind of what's it
BMI.
yeah, and all that sort of stuff, which is quite good actually, because I'm not sure he gets it. It's for his medications.
Well, he's like a racing whippet, Jake, isn't he? Honestly, he's just not a picking on him, bless him. And I said that in a nice possible sense.
Yeah.
I mean, this, it doesn't even touch on the debate around whether we should be medicating our children.
No,
we
yeah.
always were really, really, well, I suppose I can tell you the genesis of our feelings were. I think I was always really quite against it, and I thought that we shouldn't be in that. And then that was all well and good until I lived with a child who, with the experience of living with children who are immeasurably vulnerable and complicated, that we just needed something beyond what a therapeutic or a parenting model could help with, really.
I think we would be in the same boat as you on that one, to be fair. I think we were always against it until it became clear that it was required. Yeah. And, you do that thing of, oh, well, once you've been with us for a while, blah, 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 blah. But actually, it's not quite how it works, especially when it comes to meds. So I would be in the same kind of brain space as you about that. But actually, when you then, some people do need medication, don't they? That's it. It'd be like saying a diabetic doesn't need, diabetes medicine just because you don't believe in it, or it goes against what you think. But actually, if it's going to help,
I still think it's a controversial issue. That I still feel really ambivalent about it. But sometimes, there's a whole range of medications for a whole range of complex issues. But I just think that when you've reached a point where people can't get access to specialist help, then that's when things, what are people doing then? Because even you could get to a psychiatrist go, well, actually, I haven't got any medication. But so then you've got a GP who's maybe not potentially qualified to that level or has that level of expertise because they're general practice. And they're giving out, but families are in dire need, aren't they? And just huge levels of anxiety. And it's it's just really concerning.
Well, it's just an extra layer on top of what we already know, that CAMHS are, would we say, not fit for purpose? I don't know if I'd go as far as say that. I think that they could be, but they're just drastically underfunded and under-resourced. Yeah. And if that is the case and people can't get the referrals in, my experience of CAMHS in the UK is such that, it was okay, wasn't great. You got an appointment, but you didn't get anything beyond the appointment, maybe a prescription, but that was about it. There was no kind of, okay, we're going to try this and we're going to try that, or we're going to refer you for this or that, or the next thing. And it's a similar situation here, but I think that the reason it's similar in some ways here is because there isn't anything to refer to. So, adoption here is quite a small thing.
It's a niche, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very niche. I was in a meeting earlier and we were talking about the adoption support that's available in this country, and there is stuff that's provided by Bernardo's, but that's in Dublin, which is the other side of the country. Which is useful if you live in Dublin, but it's not useful where we live. And the same with things like FASD and ADHD and stuff like that. There's nothing to be able to refer to because there's nothing available. So apart from obviously what we do within our little organization, but so it's the same, but it's just a different reason. And again, I'm not sure. I think the law here is similar as well, going from memory, where when we needed medication when Jacob was on it, we weren't able to get that from a GP. It had to come from CAMHS.
Yeah.
So I think that's a very similar kind of setup. But again, I don't think that the GPs here would do that. But who knows? Did
But
we think that they would be doing that in the UK?
well, no, I mean, if you, I mean, I sort of tell the story anecdotally, and I had a friend whose child had a sort of a serious mental health episode, incident, breakdown, however you want to describe it.
Yeah.
And there was a serious concern for that child's physical welfare, that they'd put themselves, into a really dangerous situation. So an emergency referral where there's kind of life-threatening consequences to some of the stuff that's going on. An emergency referral is made, and it's 12 weeks, and you go, so you're on a waiting list for 12 weeks, and this is as dire emergency as you will get. Everyone has raised it to the red level, everyone along the line is, and then you got 12-week wait. You go, actually, that just is not good enough. And in the context of that, then I mean, it must be a terrible position for a GP to be in, to be faced with having to sort of break guidelines, sort of step outside of their routes of practice to then say, right, I'm going to have to do this.
Exactly.
I don't like it. It's really concerning.
It's funny because mental health is the most, like recently, it's become one of the most prevalent things that we talk about is mental health, isn't it? I was watching I wasn't watching it. It was on in the background last night, the Strictly Come Dancing results show, and the footballer.
You were watching it. You were leaning into that. I'm sure you were.
Kind of watching
wine.
it, but anyway. And I can't remember what the footballer's name. Tony something. Was it Tony? I think it was Tony something. Anyway, I don't know much
football.
About football. Yeah,
Tony football.
And that was his departing message, was about mental health and how we need to speak and which I totally get that message. And there's lots of charities and there's lots of not-for-profits and lots of groups that deal with mental health, but actually they aren't the ones that can actually provide you with medication and stuff like that. Yes, you can sit and talk to them and they can help, and they do. These people are really good at what they do. But in terms of this kind of thing, they can't do that. So whilst it's it's for everybody, really, isn't it? And yourself, I've got experience of the mental health thing, not personally, but I have personally, but I mean, the extreme of mental health with my brother and my cousin, and it's moved on a lot. But obviously, in terms of charities and organizations being able to refer people to CAMS or for medication or stuff like that, it's not it's maybe one of those things that needs to be looked at quite urgently. We're doing a lot of we're doing a lot of promotion about mental health and how many people are dying from suicide and all that sort of stuff. But actually, if you can't fix the basic provisions of that, then how are you going to solve the extremes of it?
Are you exacerbating the problem as well? If you're saying, if you're not feeling well, you should talk about it. But then when you discover there's nobody listening, or no one to listen, and no one to surprise the spot. Exactly. So on that cheery note,
thanks.
Move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know me, trawling the internet for the most miserable news for the podcast. It's, I tell you,
do it so well.
I'm a laugh, a song, and a joke. We are the tea light of hope on the windowsill of doom.
I think you are the tea light of hope.
I do have a reputation for being air towards the cynic.
Mrs. Coates tells me that's what she has to warm herself up from, a tea light on the worktop.
Hey, we've not had the heating on yet, so that's we had it on for a couple of days, but we've not had it on yet.
Yeah.
So there you go. Been setting fire to tires. Just going around the local garages collecting tires. I mean,
that's nothing new for your children, anyway, is it?
No, our breathing's shot, but hell, we're warm. It's not even funny. So we, do you want me to do this? We were at a meeting, the Adopt a Reference group, which is it's a thing we go to, part of the DFE, which how long that'll last under the current swathing cuts. We've not been. That all may go, and I've heard people voice that view, people involved in that, going, this, it's all well and good getting all these adoptive people together, but it costs money. So there's the cost of the secretariat, which is with Quorum, who run it. So there's costs there. There's costs of attendance fees for the attendees. There's the leadership
travel
board
costs.
head travel costs. So
who
knows?
Who knows?
But we were at a meeting and they were talking about the annual school census and about the declaration rate by specific groups. So the background to that is every term the school fills out a census and says this is the number of children we've got in different age groups, and they also there's sort of special categories for certain children, and that is to release funding. So, for example, adoption, special guardianship orders, children who and CAO, which is a child arrangement order, children who've got a child arrangement order. So that could be so oddly, this is not really. I mean, I'm a social worker, but it's not my field of practice. But child arrangement orders might be where two parents have separated, and there's been a conflict over where a child would live, and so the judge may make a child arrangement order. That's quite uncommon, but more common is that it's the step down below special guardianships. It's where a judge may say, "Oh, you're going to live with auntie or grandma or granddad or uncle or whatever." Or so anyway. So you've got the stats in front of you.
I do, yeah. And in actual fact, can I just say,
they're
quite encouraging in terms of there's been an increase in people self-identifying their selves as adoptive families or special guardians or the child arrangement orders, and it's increased over time. So we've got figures from 2015 all the way up to 2021. The one that I was most impressed, I don't know if that's the right word. Impressed with as an increase is the secondary school people who are identifying, because it's gone from, it was 34% in 2015 and it's now up at 59.8%, so 60%. That's nearly doubled. And when I think back to 2015, because I remember when this all first started, when I was at Adoption UK in that year, and we, obviously did a thing about the school census and what have you, trying to encourage people to come forward. And the biggest complaint was that, they don't want to be, children don't want to be seen as different, and all that sort of stuff, which I totally get. So there's been a change. There's been a shift somewhere in how people identify. It could well be because of the transition from primary school to secondary school, and people are aware of it because it's primary school, and primary schools depend on these little bits of funding. And actually people are now understanding that the support, it opens up support within school if they declare the child's status as adopted, and it opens up the funding. So it could well be that, and it could just be that people have aged out of the schooling system. But I think that's quite encouraging. Primary school has gone, it's kind of it's gone up, but it's not gone up dramatically. So it was 74.2% in 2015, and it's 84.6% in 2021.
I mean, I've heard people. I've spoke to adoptive parents, or actually, I spoke to my school when I was the governor. This probably tips out the end of when I was the governor. I gave up after about 25 years of being governor. Anyway, that's another story. There's no controversy. I just gave up.
Not what I heard, but
I thought there was a gagging order over how I got. No, anyway. Non-disclosure.
It wouldn't be the first job I've got you fired from.
Oh, how we laugh. So the issue was that, so my primary school, they actually sent a letter to all the parents and said, these are these specific categories that opens up pots of funding through Pupil Premium Plus. And they said, however, we're aware that you may not want that to be general knowledge. So please don't have to necessarily go to school. Fill in this form and send it back to the office. So the school office have got to know, but actually that, and I was saying that, I was thinking, what was interesting was some parents didn't, who the school knew they had adopted children, but the parents would go, no, I don't want you to, I don't want my child to be special in that sense. And so it's a negative, but which was kind of mad thinking. But they'd worked out a really efficient way of doing it in a very confidential way to maintain, because some children, and I think that was one of the concerns, wasn't it? As children go up to secondary, they wanted to they just didn't want that knowledge to be general knowledge, that they wanted, that they're adopted, but actually that's no one's business but their own, which is totally reasonable. But I think schools have got better at maintaining families' confidentiality. I wonder as well, do you think that we've got a very different group of adopters than we had sort of like 2015
Yeah,
compared to now.
and that's my point, isn't it? If you look at high schools as an example, potentially young people who were in high school, they didn't want it to be made a thing that they were adopted, and all this sort of stuff, and perhaps now parents are just going into high school and going, well, I declared it in primary school, so I'm declaring it in high school. So that's kind of
a presumption.
like I said, yeah, they're aging out. But that it doesn't just apply to adoptions; it's also SGOs as well. And if we look at SGO figures, quite an increase actually in primary school. It's gone from 56.3% in 2015, and it's now 82.1%. So it's nearly on a par with adoption the same year. Secondary school, again, quite a big jump, 32.5% in 2015 to 52.8%. So it's slightly behind. There's a bigger gap between primary and secondary and adoption, but not too much. And then CAOs, 34.3 in 2015, and it's now 65.1%,
which is
primary.
Really good.
That is a big jump, isn't it?
Yeah.
Secondary, hardly an increase at all.
It's terrible.
25.1%, and then 27.8. But again, that could be, stigma and all that sort of stuff that goes with something like that, because family life is hard, isn't it? And if you're a different family and you don't want people to kind of see you in that way, then it could be almost an embarrassing situation for anybody, really. But I do wonder as well, like you say, it could well be parental, but it could also be school led. This focus on trying to increase that, because schools are, they're always having their budgets cut, aren't they? So they're always looking for ways to get money. So and when I say get money, I mean to open up funds that they're entitled to. So it could well be that they're doing it differently as well. And we know ourselves from the people that we speak to, there are a lot of teachers, a lot of head teachers and deputy head teachers in the UK specifically that actually are aware of adoption fostering, because some of them do it. Some of them are adoptive parents and foster carers as well as their main job. So they may well have found a way to be able to word it so that actually more parents engage, to make sure that they understand it. And also, again, I guess it depends on the school. Are some schools ring fencing the money for specific children, or is it just being spent generically? Who knows?
Oh, that's a real can of worms, isn't it? Because we know that the school holds the money, don't they? And then there's something. If you want to start fighting Twitter, ask what schools they're using it for, and then you'll see a lot of people will be really frustrated at that, what feels like a really opaque system. But again, it's all complicated sort of legal structures, isn't it? That it's systems that are bolted on to another system. And, if you could sweep the board clean, question for Helen Hayes, if you could sweep the board clean, you would maybe build it differently. Because obviously if you're a child who's looked after, then the virtual school holds the money.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So they say, hey, you're not spending it on that, you're spending it on this.
Yeah. It's a big thing. It's a big issue.
Yeah, huge issue. As we were promised to do a short one, so tell me, how are the preparations going for the annual Adoption and Fostering Conference?
So you mean the ANF Podcast Conference? That is its official title.
Oh, see, there you are with your facts and your figures, and you've been making it all right again.
Well, it's all about just everything being so, is it not?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll grant you that.
It's attention to detail, Al. Attention to detail. Something you're not very good at, which is why I do the admin, because otherwise we would be screwed.
That is so hurtful. I have a reputation
okay, so let me,
in some worlds.
Yeah, you
being
do.
You've got a very.
You have got. Yeah, maybe in some worlds. But if I was to say to you, okay, can you invoice this organization? Yeah, exactly. So don't even go there with me. All right.
Invoice from invoice.
Yeah, exactly. So how are they? Prep's coming along really well. I mean, as ever, we settle into our own little roles, don't we? So we both try and promote it as much as possible. And we've got our speakers, and we kind of discuss speakers, and then we come up with speakers. I think this year it was what was that, about 5 months ago? So I wasn't fully compos mentis still. So I was kind of going with you, but actually
just agreed.
Yeah, and well, not really, but just kind of said, So yeah, but it's as popular as ever, as far as I'm concerned. We've got a great number of participants coming along.
So we've got a couple of RAs. Is it worth us naming them so people can get onto their social profile?
Yeah. So we have Adopt East Midlands have purchased tickets.
Boom.
So that's Adopt East Midlands. So if you're an adopter in Adopt East Midlands, then you should approach them. And Adopt London.
Yes.
Yeah, Adopt London. As ever, they buy quite a bit of tickets, quite a few tickets. And that's it. There's only
Adopt
two.
South West. East, Southwest. Adopt Southwest. I'm sure you told me. Adopt Southwest.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on confirmation though, so I'm not sure.
All right, okay. So, well, shall we take a total risk? So, get in touch with it. Get in touch with.
I mean, if you get in touch with them, then they're gonna do it. On there, it's just they did ask for. The last I heard from her was, "Is the conference on the 22nd of November?" I went, "No, it's 25th," and that was it. But yes, it's Adoption Southeast. So if you
Southwest,
Southeast.
All right, I'm confused.
Yes. Yeah, Adoption Southeast. But if you are a member
Southeast.
of Adopt Southwest, then please feel free to contact them and see what happens.
Get in touch. Oh, you could always just buy a ticket because it's ridiculously good value.
Well, it is. I mean, it's 15 quid. Come on, seriously, man. £15, 15 off your British pounds, which is not worth very much anywhere else in the world at the minute. So.
What's that? Half a baguette? Something.
I was going to say a quarter of a tank of petrol, but I don't think it's even that, is it? No, I'm looking forward to it actually, and I think we found our stride with it. I think the first year we really put ourselves on it, so we were organising it, and then we did our own sessions, and we were chairing it, and we were doing this, and we were doing that. By the end of that, it was no wonder that I needed a stiff drink, and I still need a stiff drink after them because they're quite a busy day. But actually, they're much more manageable the way we do it now because we just give our thoughts and have a little bit of bants in between the speakers. And as I mentioned before, the speakers, we like to choose based on experience in terms of speakers, and we like to have that range. So we've got an adopted adult, we've got a birth mum, we've got an adoptive parent stroke grandmother who just so happens to be related to Al. So it'll be interesting to give her that platform. So I'm going to introduce that session, I think, rather than you, because I think it'd be tricky for you, wouldn't it? It'd be like me doing it with Tris, because I'd be like, well, tell them about the time. Oh no, you can't say that. Don't say that. Yeah, exactly.
I'll bow out with that, and I'll set her up and she can crack on.
Yeah, and we've got Sarah Johal and Beth Neal as well. So there you go.
Excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. It'd be good. And there was talk that there might be something with fostering, might be partnershiping in the new year, but let's maybe just trail that. That's just enough.
Keep our powder dry for that one.
Nice one. Yeah. Excellent. So on that note, on that bombshell, I'm going to go and snuff out the tea light of hope on the windowsill of doom, and get on with some lunch. I'm going to have my lunch.
I would if I was you.
Excellent. Okay, well, as always, bon jovi.
Anchovy.